I never thought the word betrayal would hit me the way it did that night. You hear about people getting cheated on. You see it in movies or read it in stories online. But deep down you always believe it's something that happens to other people. Not you. Not in your home. Not with the person you swore your life to. I still remember the moment I walked through the door earlier than expected. The house smelled faintly of her perfume. Familiar, warm, but almost suffocating that day. I had come home from work 2 hours early because my last meeting was canceled. I thought it would be a nice surprise. I imagined her smile when I walked in, the way she'd throw her arms around me, the little things we used to share. But instead of laughter and hugs, I heard muffled noises upstairs. Whispering, movement, the sound of a bed creaking that I knew all too well. At first, I froze. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was watching something on TV in the bedroom. Maybe she had a friend over. But then I heard her voice, soft, breathless, a voice she used to reserve only for me. And then I heard his. My heart pounded like it was about to tear through my chest. My hands shook and the air felt heavier with every breath. Against every instinct, screaming at me to walk away. I climbed the stairs quietly, step by step, until I reached our bedroom door. And what I saw when I pushed it open, it broke me in ways I didn't think were possible. There she was, my wife, tangled in the sheets with another man. The betrayal wasn't just in what they were doing, but in the look on her face when she saw me. It wasn't shame. It wasn't even regret. It was annoyance, as if I had ruined her moment. That was the knife that cut the deepest. I exploded. Years of love, trust, and sacrifices poured out of me in a tidal wave of rage. The man scrambled out of bed, half naked, stammering something about it not being what it looked like. Ridiculous words in the middle of undeniable proof. I lunged at him, not even thinking. My fist connected with his face before he could react. The room filled with screams, hers, his, and maybe even mine. Furniture toppled over. Glass shattered. The entire house became a battleground. It turned brutal. The man fought back. And suddenly, it wasn't just me unleashing my anger. It was survival. I don't know how long it lasted, but by the end, we were both bloodied, panting, and glaring at each other like wild animals. She tried to pull us apart, crying and begging me to stop. But her pleas only fueled my rage. The truth was out, and there was no going back. The police were eventually called by the neighbors. I think by the time they arrived, the damage was already done. I wasn't arrested, but I was warned. The other man left quickly, and my wife, well, she didn't say much. She sat there on the bed, wrapped in a blanket, silent and shaking. For a moment, I almost felt pity for her. Almost. That night, I packed a bag and left. Not because I wanted to, but because staying felt impossible. The walls of that house had become suffocating, poisoned with betrayal. I slept on a friend's couch for weeks, replaying every moment of our marriage in my mind. Every date, every promise, every time she said, "I love you." All of it felt like lies now. But here's the thing. Pain changes you. At first, it consumes you, eats you alive from the inside. But slowly, if you let it, it reshapes you. In the weeks that followed, I realized I had two choices. Let this betrayal define me or rebuild myself stronger than before. I chose the latter. I filed for divorce. It wasn't easy. There were tears, accusations, late-night phone calls where she begged me to reconsider. She said it was a mistake, that she loved me, that we could work through it. But I couldn't. Trust once shattered like that can't simply be glued back together. The foundation was gone, and I refused to live in the ruins. The brutal disaster of that night could have destroyed me, but instead it became the fire that forged a new version of myself. I started focusing on things I had neglected. My health, my passions, my friendships. I hit the gym harder than ever. I reconnected with old friends. I traveled to places I had always said I'd visit someday. And slowly, I began to feel alive again. Months later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked tired, worn out, as if the weight of her decisions had finally caught up to her. She tried to smile, tried to spark a conversation, but I wasn't the same man anymore. I was no longer broken, no longer begging for answers or closure. I had already found it within myself. And that's the message I want to leave here. Betrayal hurts. It cuts deeper than almost anything else, but it doesn't have to be the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you rediscover your strength, your worth, and your ability to rise from the ashes. That night when I caught my wife with her lover, it turned into a brutal disaster. But in the long run, it became the wake-up call I never knew I needed. And now I stand taller, stronger, and wiser. Proof that even in the darkest moments, there's a way forward.